We live in this hyper-connected, always-on world. It feels like every spare moment, whether you're waiting for a coffee or just sitting on your couch, gets filled with some kind of digital distraction. We've basically engineered boredom right out of our lives. But I have to wonder, have we lost something really valuable in the process?
Now really, think about it for a second. When was the last time you just sat there and did nothing? No phone, no music, no podcast, just you and your own thoughts. If you're struggling to remember, well, you're definitely not alone. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into. Why we run from boredom and what we might be missing out on when we do.
It's like we fill every single crack in our day with something to consume. Texting, scrolling through feeds, checking the headlines. All these little actions have turned every empty moment into an opportunity for more stimulation. We've gotten really, really good at being occupied, but are we maybe forgetting how to just be present?
Okay, so this number, 45 seconds, this represents a pretty dramatic fracture in our attention spans. A decade ago, research showed that at work, we'd shift our focus about every 3 minutes. Today, that number has plummeted to just 45 seconds.
And here's the cost of that fractured attention. 566. That is the average number of times we switch tasks on our computers every single day. And each one of those switches, from an email to a spreadsheet to a chat message, it uses up glucose. It drains the fuel from our brains. We're basically running an attention marathon every single day.
So, why are we so desperate to avoid being idle? Well, the reason goes a lot deeper than just wanting a simple distraction. For a lot of us, it's actually a deliberate escape. We're actively running away from being alone with our own minds.
This finding it's genuinely shocking. In one study, people found sitting alone with their thoughts for just 15 minutes so unpleasant that many of them chose to give themselves an electric shock, a shock they had previously said they would pay money to avoid. That's just how deep our aversion to our own inner world can be. Psychologists actually have a term for this kind of behavior. They call it a manic defense. It's this idea that our constant busyness, our packed schedules, they often act as a kind of shield. It's a flurry of activity we use to keep uncomfortable feelings, like helplessness or loneliness, at bay, creating this illusion that we're purposeful and in control.
But here's the big twist, the paradox in all of this. By running away from boredom, we might actually be running away from our most brilliant ideas. See, boredom isn't the enemy we think it is. It's actually a crucial ingredient for creativity.
So this process is called incubation, and it works kind of like this. First, you really immerse yourself in a tough problem. Then, and this is the most important part, you step away. You let your mind wander. You let yourself get bored. And during this downtime, your unconscious mind gets to work, making all these new connections that your focused conscious brain just couldn't see. And then, bam, seemingly out of nowhere, the solution just pops into your head.
In this quote from Michelangelo, well, the story behind it is the perfect example. When he was working on the statue of David, he was known to just stare at this giant block of marble for hours on end, seemingly doing nothing at all. And if someone asked him what he was doing, he'd just reply, "I'm working." He was letting his mind incubate, seeing that angel inside the stone.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Michelangelo. His friend, the Renaissance historian Giorgio Vasari, understood this perfectly. He recognized that this unstructured time, this period of what looks like idleness, isn't wasted at all. In fact, it's often when the most profound breakthroughs happen.
So if downtime is so valuable, why is it practically an endangered species? Well, it turns out we're not just fighting against our own psychology. We're actually up against a massive system that is designed to capture and monetize our focus. Welcome to the attention economy.
Think about it. The apps and tools we use every single day, they are built to be addictive. Features like the infinite scroll are put there on purpose to remove any natural stopping points. Those constant notifications, they prey on our basic human need for social validation. Our attention has literally become the product, and it's being auctioned off to the highest bidder billions of times a day.
And don't just take my word for it. Listen to this brutally honest quote from a user experience designer. It really shows you the internal conflict. They know that to hit their revenue targets, the app has to be designed in a way that manipulates the user's psychology. And at the end of the day, user well-being often takes a backseat to profit.
So all of this brings us to a really important idea. It's pretty clear we need to completely reframe how we think about downtime. In a world that demands every second of our attention, doing nothing isn't lazy. It's a radical act of freedom. It might even be the ultimate luxury. Just look at the contrast here. On one side, you've got this performative busyness, a life of constant reaction, always chasing external validation, always responding to demands. But on the other side, you have the freedom of idleness. It's a state with no obligations where you're free from constraints and your time is truly your own, to think, to reflect, to just be.
And I think this comment from someone online just captures the feeling perfectly. The real value of doing nothing isn't about staring at a wall. It's about having no obligations. It's the ultimate expression of personal autonomy in a world that wants to dictate your every single moment.
Which, leaves us with one last big question to chew on. We're constantly told to optimize every single minute for productivity. But maybe, just maybe, the most valuable, the most creative, and the most liberating thing we can do for our minds is to actually schedule time to do absolutely nothing at all. What do you think?